Tonight, Victorians return the Andrews government for a second term with a bigger majority.
They have, in record numbers, at the same time, rejected the low road of fear and division.
Matthew Guy concedes, already anticipating pressure to quit after a big swing to the government.
We need to stick together. We need to stay united, and we need to stay focused on our opponents and the game ahead, not on ourselves.
Unwanted sexual advances. A Sydney man helps a teenager and is then accused of touching her. And a popular WA beach closed after a shark is spotted inside a safety net. Hello and welcome to ABC News. I'm Gemma Veness. Labor has won the Victorian state election in a landslide, with swings to the government across Melbourne. The ABC's election analyst, Anthony Green, declared Labor comfortable winners and is forecasting that the party could win as many as 60 of Parliament's 88 seats. That includes Labor taking a swathe of formerly safe Liberal seats in Melbourne's east and inner-city electorates from the Greens. The Labor Party faithful erupted in cheers at the declaration inside the party's election headquarters in Melbourne's southeast. Labor leader Daniel Andrews thanked his team and supporters for the win.
By telling your story, you help Victorians tell their story. By knocking on doors, making phone calls, handing out how to vote cards today, all the things you've done, the tens of thousands of hours of work, on behalf of everyone who relies upon a Labor government for a fair go and opportunity in life, I say thank you so much. Friends, we are the most progressive government in the nation. We are the most progressive state in the nation. We live our values, we keep our promises, and we get things done. Can I make some final remarks about those who today could not see their way clear to support our positive and optimistic plan? We will still govern for you. We will govern for all Victorians. We will make sure that regardless of how you voted, we'll have better schools, we'll have better hospitals. We'll build the infrastructure we need and create the jobs that are so important.
Opposition leader Matthew Guy conceded defeat just after 9 p.m. and acknowledged the strength of Daniel Andrews' campaign. Mr Guy also offered his commiserations to colleagues who lost their seats and thanked his party for remaining unified throughout the parliamentary term.
In the Liberal Party in the last, not just few weeks, but indeed the last few years, we have campaigned on issues that we believe are important and of the most importance to Victorians. Keeping Victorians safe, lowering their cost of living, easing the congestion in places like particularly the eastern suburbs of Melbourne, and also decentralising our state's population. It isn't sustainable to keep growing Melbourne at the rates that it is, and I note in country Victoria the minimal swings against our party. However, as I said, there are a number of our members who have not been re-elected tonight. I want to offer my sincere commiserations to them, to their campaign teams, to their families, to those candidates who haven't been successful tonight. I want to, ladies and gentlemen, thank, if I can, the campaign staff at the State Secretariat, led by Nick Demiris. Our campaign staff was young, enthusiastic, and it has done an incredible job under what we see now as trying circumstances. I want to acknowledge my own staff, and not many people do that, but I want to acknowledge my staff led by Scott Pearce for the work they have done. Piercy's going to get some sleep because he's going to need it, poor guy. I want to thank all of them for the work my staff have done for 4 years. Over 4 years, the work they have put in is outstanding. Ladies and gentlemen, as I said, I want to thank my parliamentary colleagues in the state parliamentary team in the parliament that has now just passed. They have been unified. They have stuck together. They have done what they had to do to stick together and to learn from the mistakes of disunity. Can I say that for the next parliament, as a party, we need to stick together. We need to stay united, and we need to stay focused on our opponents and the game ahead, not on ourselves. And I hope we'll continue to do that.
The Federal Treasurer Josh Frydenberg says the Victorian election was fought on state issues. He says results are not reflective of the public's view of the federal government.
Well, the noise didn't help, but it didn't determine the outcome. And this election was fought on state-based issues. And if Bill Shorten wants to get ahead of himself and think that he can measure up the drapes in the lodge, then he'll be as wrong next time around as he was in 2016 when he did his famous victory lap around the country thinking he'd won that election.
OK, what does this mean for your colleague Sarah Henderson in seats like Corangamite, a 0.03% margin? Other eastern suburb seats, Chisholm, vacated very noisily by a very unhappy Julia Banks. A string of other marginal seats, federal marginal seats. Surely they'd have to be very, very worried tonight.
Well, we've got a lot of work to do here in Victoria and across the country, and the Prime Minister and I and all our colleagues are very, very conscious of that. But at the same time, the Australian economy is strong. We've got an agenda that we're prosecuting, and we know that the Coalition has a very strong track record and will be presenting to the people at the next election very strong policies.
You've only got about 6 months, though, Josh Frydenberg. Do you think you can turn it around in that shorter period of time?
Well, they say a week's a long time in politics, so 6 months is an eternity.
Both of your colleagues here at the other end of the panel are bemoaning the fact that the Liberal Party is tearing itself apart. The Conservative wing is at war with the Progressive wing, the small L Liberal wing, particularly here in Victoria. That needs to change, surely, from their perspective, as they have argued. What do you think?
Well, Matthew Guy had enormous unity in his team for 4 years. I mean, I think that's worth pointing out. And it's a real credit to him and his colleagues. At the end of the day, that didn't carry them to victory tonight. That's obvious. But the issues within the Liberal Party are no different than issues within the Labor Party.
Turning to other news now, and a Sydney man who helped a young woman after a car accident has then allegedly made unwanted sexual advances towards her. The 36-year-old man is accused of propositioning the teenager and touching her. Police have described the alleged behaviour as predatory, but the man denies the accusations.
At a busy Bankstown service station on Thursday, the 19-year-old pulled over. Moments earlier, she'd had a minor car crash and Keenan Bassage stepped in to help. After assisting the woman, police allege Mr Bassage proposed a sex act, an advance the teenager rejected.
I'd describe that behaviour as predatory.
A short time later, the woman pulled over for a second time, fearing her car would overheat, and it's then that police allege the 36-year-old indecently assaulted her.
It seems to have been something that he has just taken the opportunity at the time.
Court documents allege the man groped her genitals, her breast and intimidated her. But police claim he continued to follow her and attempted to enter her car when she had to stop in heavy traffic.
Needless to say, it was a traumatic incident for this young lady.
Mr Bassage was arrested just blocks from the service station yesterday.
He's a customer and I never seen anything wrong from him. He's a nice man, he's gentle. So I couldn't believe that he could do something like this.
Despite being his first time in custody, Magistrate George Zedenkowski said his release would pose an unacceptable risk to the victim. Mr Bassage threw his hands in the air when he learned his bail application had been denied and told the judge that he was innocent. His legal aid solicitor had sought to have him released with strict reporting conditions, but the police prosecutor argued the allegations against him were both frightening and serious. Mr Bassage is expected to appear in Bankstown Local Court via video link next week. Brooke Wiley, ABC News, Sydney.
A helicopter has crashed on a remote station in Central Australia, killing one man and injuring another. 2 passengers were on board the Robinson R22 when it crashed into a riverbed around 125 kilometres northeast of Alice Springs. The sole survivor is now in a stable condition in Alice Springs Hospital.
Look, he has a number of injuries, has a serious leg injury, has a number of chest injuries.
Northern Territory Police and the Australian Transport Safety Bureau are conducting investigations. The federal government is intensifying its attack on Labor's new energy policy, accusing it of wanting to throw money at profitable power companies. Under the opposition's plan, the Clean Energy Finance Corporation would receive a $10 billion injection to help the renewable sector. But the government claims big retailers, not consumers, would be the main winners.
The energy companies are delivering record profits right now, and Labor wants to throw more money at them.
I think it shows just how desperate this government is, that it's attacking one of its own agencies, headed by a board that it largely appointed, operating under an investment mandate given to them by a Liberal government treasurer.
Labor has also pledged to bring back the Turnbull government's National Energy Guarantee if it wins office. New South Wales Liberal Senator Jim Molan's parliamentary future has been dealt a blow after he was relegated to 3rd position on the party's Senate ticket for the next federal election. Senator Molan was Chief of Operations for the Coalition Forces during the Iraq War, and after his retirement, he helped develop Australia's border protection policy. At a New South Wales Liberal pre-selection meeting, Holly Hughes won the vote for the top Senate spot, followed by former acting party director Andrew Bragg. At 3rd position on the ticket, Senator Molan is considered highly unlikely to be re-elected to Parliament. More than 3 years on from the greyhound live baiting scandal, less than half of the recommendations made by a Queensland Commission of Inquiry into the sport have been implemented. Animal rights activists say the welfare of greyhounds hasn't been addressed, while vets are concerned a database to track the dogs throughout their life still isn't in place. And a warning, this story contains some distressing images.
These former racing dogs are enjoying their retirement, the picture of health. But it was these images of animal cruelty that shook the greyhound racing industry. The fallout from the Four Corners report saw some Queensland trainers charged, boards across all racing codes sacked, and an inquiry. But 3 years on, only 6 out of 15 recommendations made in Alan McSporran's review have been implemented.
Sadly, it looks like it's just been a very expensive multi-million-dollar PR exercise.
Yet to be established is a publicly accessible database to track greyhounds from birth to death. A key recommendation designed to ensure the welfare of racing dogs.
To make sure that those dogs are having the whole of life welfare provisions that we talk about, and the regulators have an ability to track that.
We've got no idea how many animals are in the industry, how many are being killed and what's really happening to them.
The Queensland Racing Integrity Commission was established to oversee the reforms with Racing Queensland. Its Commissioner Ross Barnett says a database is coming, but recommendations relating to the overbreeding and wastage of greyhounds have been put on hold because of the impact of the scandal.
In Queensland, that meant that in our first full year, breeding had dropped from 2,200 to about 760, and it's only now just starting to recover.
According to the industry, in the past financial year, almost 900 greyhound puppies were born and 446 dogs were euthanased. Some were put down at the track because of injury, some were considered unfit for rehoming, while the rest were killed after retirement. The Integrity Commission says since July 2016, no one in the state's greyhound industry has been charged with live baiting or race fixing, but 61 doping charges have been laid.
What is of concern clearly is the type of drugs that are being used. People are giving drugs like amphetamine, methamphetamine, pseudoephedrine and Valium to greyhounds.
A number of greyhound trainers and the representative body were approached for interviews about the state of the industry, but all declined. The ABC was also not allowed trackside to film at any of Queensland's greyhound races. Rachel Rieger, ABC News.
A popular beach on Western Australia's south coast was forced to close after a shark entered a swimming enclosure. Beachgoers spotted the shark inside the safety zone at Albany's Middleton Beach just before 9 o'clock this morning.
This is the shark that managed to get through a protective net at a popular beach. Police ordered swimmers out of the water this morning after the unwanted visitor was spotted on the wrong side of the shark net.
A little bit of shock, really, I suppose, for swimmers to be inside the enclosure and to be asked to get out because there was a shark inside. Very unusual. And yeah, quite confronting for them, I think.
Just over past the jetty over there, we saw a fin sticking out, and we saw a fin and the tail after that.
Really excited because I really like sharks.
The shark, believed to be a 1.8 metre bronze whaler, remained inside the net throughout the day, drawing crowds of onlookers.
The ranger had come up within about 15 minutes of people making calls. There was people all over the jetty taking photos. I don't think there's a problem. At the end of the day, I believe the ocean is their territory. If we want to fence off areas for us, maybe we need to come up with better fence solutions.
This afternoon, a team from the Department of Fisheries raised the net and chased the shark out of the safety zone using a jet ski. The question now is how it managed to get inside in the first place.
Whether it's been swept over by a wave or it's been dumped in there, you wouldn't have a clue in that context. So we'll try and find that out. But it is frustrating. We'd like to keep the beach safe, and for the last 3 years it's been terrific in that regard. The state government installed the net at a cost of $200,000 for a 3-year trial period, which ends in March next year. Because it was a reasonably sized shark, it was about 1.8 metres, I think a bronze whaler is what I've been told. So it's just something that you don't want it to happen, so we'll have to talk to the manufacturers to see what the story is from here on in. Authorities say an initial inspection did not find any fault with the net. The beach will remain closed until Sunday. Aaron Fernandez, ABC News, Albany.
Growing demand for batteries for electric cars and power storage is driving increased investment in lithium mining in Western Australia. WA is currently supplying more than 40% of the world's lithium, and a new mine in the Pilbara is the latest in a string of investments in the industry. The West Australian government is now encouraging industry to build a battery factory in the state to capitalise on the boom.
It's vast and remote here in the Pilbara and rich in minerals. Better known for iron ore, this region is also the heart of Australia's rapidly expanding lithium industry. A new mine has recently opened here, with the aim of becoming one of the biggest lithium mines in the world.
The Pilgangoora mine will become a really big mine in a global scale, and that really paints a picture as to the opportunity for Western Australia.
Most of Australia's 10 hard rock lithium mines are in Western Australia, driven by a growing need for lithium to feed an insatiable tech sector.
Demand is expanding very rapidly, and that's being driven, of course, by the demand for electric vehicles. Out of China, for example, the demand for electric vehicles is up 75% year to date to over 860,000 vehicles.
Australia isn't the only producer of lithium, but we do things differently here, mining hard rock lithium, which is becoming a preferred source for battery production.
That's why, as a whole, Western Australia will become a really important supplier to global battery markets, because we have a phenomenal natural endowment of hard rock mineral, spodumene, which in turn contains the lithium.
Inside this rock is spodumene, the mineral that's led to billions of dollars of new mining investment into Australia. Here at Pilgangoora, it's processed into a concentrate before being trucked to Port Hedland and shipped directly to China and South Korea to be turned into batteries for use in smartphones, electric vehicles and other emerging technology.
And the Western Australian government is banking on continuing demand for lithium.
43% of all the lithium in the world comes from Western Australia, and we're really excited about our opportunities to follow that value chain down further, to have more downstream processing here in Western Australia.
In the south of WA, $400 million has been invested into a refinery to process the metal in a bid to take advantage of this potential boom. Experts believe the lithium industry has a long way to run.
We see very strong demand. We see that we're in the very early stages of a multi-decade thematic. 2018 was a very significant year as a tipping point for electric vehicles, and this is going to run for the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years.
For now, Australia is leading the charge to supply the world with more battery power. Michelle Stanley, ABC News, Pilgangoora.
Now it's time for sport with Will Davies.
Brisbane Roar have their first win of the A-League season after beating Melbourne City 2-0 in Brisbane tonight. Striker Adam Taggart continued his fine start to the campaign, scoring in the opener to make it 4 goals in 5 matches before he doubled the Roar's advantage midway through the second half.
Lopez digs it out. Taggart! 2-0! Top corner, a beauty in front of the den, and that will ease the nerves around Brisbane.
Earlier this evening, Ken Ilso scored his first 2 goals in the A-League as Adelaide United beat Wellington Phoenix 3-1. The Australian women's cricket team has made it clear winning is the only option in tomorrow morning's World 2020 final against England. But the Southern Stars will have to overcome their greatest rival in Antigua to lift the trophy for a 4th time.
After losing the last edition of the World T20 final to the West Indies, the Australians won't settle for second again.
We're very clear on what we want to achieve here.
The Southern Stars are into their 5th consecutive decider, having beaten England twice before on this stage.
We came here to play off in this final. We've given ourselves the opportunity now to win. And coming up against England, always great games, and know it's going to be extremely tough.
And England have another World Cup final.
Can't really ignore it. It's the old enemy, can you? It's probably the 2 best teams in the world historically over the last few years.
Opener Elisa Healy has been the standout for the world #1 Australians, named player of the match in 4 of the team's 5 games.
I don't think we're relying on her. She's just taken her opportunity and run with it, and I've got no doubt that if someone else gets the opportunity tomorrow, that they'll be able to do it just as well.
I think this is one of the best Australian T20 sides we've ever seen. Wonderfully balanced team. A very deep batting order that we've spoken about.
And the Australian men are taking plenty of inspiration from their counterparts.
The style that they've played, the way that they've gone about it, everyone in Australia should be really proud of what they've achieved, regardless of the result tomorrow. Obviously, it'd be great for them to win, and I have full confidence that they can do that.
They've been a dominant force, especially in the T20 space. So for us going forward, if we can take a little leaf out of their book and win some more games of cricket for Australia, it'd be very good.
The men can claim their T20 series against India in Sydney tomorrow, after the second game at the MCG finished in a washout. Mitchell Starc will come into the side for paceman Billy Stanlake, who hurt his ankle in the warm-up last night. Amanda Shalala, ABC News.
Wayne Bennett's on-again, off-again future as Broncos coach appears to have been settled. The veteran Brisbane coach met the club's chairman this morning, where it was agreed he'd stay on for the 2019 NRL season. There had been speculation about an early departure, but Bennett says he's excited and optimistic about the year ahead. He'll swap places with South Sydney coach Anthony Seibold in 2020. Belgium duo Thomas Pieters and Thomas Dietrich are in control going into the final day of the World Cup of Golf at Melbourne's Metropolitan Golf Course. Pieters and Dietrich posted a 3rd round 63 to finish 5 shots clear on top of the leaderboard, with Australia 6 shots off the pace in a tie for 5th.
After going from front runners to tied for 8th on day 2, Team Australia knew they had to be aggressive in the day 3 4-ball format and make a statement early. 4 birdies and an eagle in the opening 9 holes did just that, propelling them back to the top of the leaderboard.
Well, they've come to play today, the Aussies.
They certainly had, their good form continuing in the back 9.
Superb shot from Leishman.
But the Belgian side upped the ante to retain the position they started the day with, on top.
Oh, why not? He's got to love the result, Aussie.
A surge by the Italians resulted in 2nd spot and fist pumps all round after 13 holes. But the celebrations were short-lived as they double bogeyed the 14th. Vocal home support spurred on the Aussies. But they were silenced by an unlucky twist for Cameron Smith on the 18th.
Oh, this might... Oh, it's the flag! And that's unkind.
Australia posting 65 to finish 13 under par in a tie for 5th. A strong finish from Korea ensured they were tied for 2nd place alongside Italy and Mexico, but there was no doubting the standout performers of the day.
How about that? 18 under par.
Belgium finishing with an impressive 5-shot lead going into the final day of the tournament. Catherine Murphy, ABC News, Melbourne.
Melbourne United has celebrated David Barlow's 250th NBL game with an 84 to 82 point win over Sydney. Despite a career-high 35 points from Jerome Randall, inaccuracy cost Sydney. Andrew Bogut collected 11 rebounds, but some determined work in the dying seconds helped Melbourne take the lead. Defending champions Melbourne have now beaten the Kings twice this season. A last lap thriller has helped Shane van Gisbergen close the gap on rival Scott McLaughlin in the Supercars Championship. Van Gisbergen started from pole position for the Newcastle 500 and Jamie Whincup crashed out early. Championship leader McLaughlin was the front runner, but low on fuel, he conceded that spot to Van Gisbergen.
A few naughty words come out of my mouth then. That was awesome. What a race, and that sets up tomorrow.
2 points separates the two New Zealand drivers ahead of tomorrow's title decider.
On the satellite, an intense low is generating very gusty winds, showers and alpine snow in Tasmania, Victoria and southern New South Wales. Troughs are triggering showers and storms in North Queensland and the Northern Territory, and a low is causing showers and storms in South Australia. Looking around the country for tomorrow, in Queensland there will be the odd thundery shower in the far north, mostly sunny conditions elsewhere and windy in the south. Windy with isolated showers in the southeast of New South Wales, isolated showers in the north and dry in the west. There will be morning fog patches in the north and west of Victoria and then a sunny day. Showers will be easing in the south and east of the state. There will be showers in the northeast and south of Tasmania, and it'll be cloudy in the west with isolated showers. Clearing showers in the southeast of South Australia and mostly sunny elsewhere. In WA, rain and strong winds are expected in the southwest, hot in the north with afternoon thunderstorms. Isolated showers and storms across the top end, possible late thunderstorms in the interior. And looking to Monday's forecast for the nation's capitals, sunny in Brisbane, mostly sunny for Sydney and Canberra, showers in Hobart, mostly sunny for Melbourne, Adelaide and Darwin, and a sunny day expected for Perth. That is the latest from ABC News. I'm Gemma Veness. Stay with us. Australian Story is up next.
Join in